Admittedly, this might be the most fun continuing conversations I'll do all year because it's tying the bow on something that's very sweet and close to my heart. But before we get into that, I'm Michael Dismuke. I'm a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures RPG, along with being lead writer on Captain's Log RPG and a Star Trek fiction writer, among other things. In fact, involved with almost all of these people on some sort of RPG sci-fi gloriness. So this is super happy. We'll talk about who's on the show in a moment. But before we get to them, we have to bring on Jim Johnson.
Hey, everybody. Jim Johnson. I am the project manager and line editor for the Star Trek Adventures RPG, Fallout RPG, other stuff. Also a fiction writer. Happy to be here, co-hosting this show, finishing up year 4, moving into year 5. Gonna be exciting. Year 5, just in time for the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. All kinds of cool stuff coming up. But tonight, we got cool stuff tonight. We have a bunch of guests tonight, none of whom are strangers to this show, which is exciting. And this is the cast of is it Pioneer? Is it
the USS Pioneer? Anybody who watches the YouTube opener.
Honorary hat.
That's right.
So this is they just wrapped up their epic long-term 5+ year campaign. And we wanted to I wanted to pick their brain a little bit about it, what made it successful, happy moments, and what can other groups learn from them and their experiences playing online for such a long time, making it work, having fun. So we're going to be talking to them all. But before we jump into that, we're going to just go around the horn, have everybody introduce themselves and plug their current wares, because I think everybody is working on stuff spawning off of their Star Trek Adventures experience. So it's exciting to see the growth of everybody on this here channel. There's all kinds of new things, like the roots of Star Trek Adventures have generated all kinds of new flowers and seedlings, and I don't know, I'm hurting that analogy, but
it's good. Not many games can say that, though. We get it.
Yeah, you got it. The Star Trek Adventures garden is in full bloom. How about that? Anyway, so let's go. Al, introduce yourself, please.
Hey, everyone. Al Spada here. I'm a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures. I also write and design for some other role-playing games, including the Sentience RPG, Once Upon, and 2 weeks ago, I was the system designer for a role-playing game called Redacted, which I worked on with Aaron on this panel. So that has been out for about 2 weeks now. I'm sure it's selling like mad.
Awesome, and congratulations to both of you on that. I was super excited to get an advanced read of it and share a little bit of insights and ideas, and some hopefully the forward was worthwhile. But I'm looking forward to seeing that in full flower. All right, Josh, introduce yourself, please.
Hey everybody, I'm Josh Allen. I am a contributing writer to Star Trek Adventures: The Captain's Log. I don't have any other exciting projects yet, but who knows? Love to seek those in the future. But yeah, I've been a player here in the Pioneer campaign for a few years now.
Yeah, stay on the call long enough. All the stuff will seep into you from everybody else, and you'll be inspired, just like I'm inspired every time I talk to these people. All right.
Yeah, 100%.
Troy, introduce yourself, please.
All right. I'm Troy Metkins. I am a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures, RPG creator for Astronaut 2D20. Have contributed to many other games. Currently the creator for The Good, the Bad, and the Savage, and the Western products go with it for Savage Worlds, and it's going like crazy.
Awesome. Congratulations. And Aaron, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Aaron Pallier, longtime freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures. I'm your Starship science technology sort of guy. With Al, I've been working on Redacted, which is a part of the Majestic universe. I am also the creator of Saucer Squadron.
Super cool. That's awesome. All right. So that's the quick and dirty from everybody there. And I think we'll just jump right on into it, shall we? Let's just talk about everything USS Pioneer. And I guess the only request is that, think about all your great experiences and then think about how you can apply that. If there's a new perspective group out there that wants to do a long-term campaign, either online or in person, what kind of inspiration can they take from you as they head off into their own game? So I think the first question is,
right before we get to the first question, let me just give a quick 30-second blurb about what the USS Pioneer was about. It was based out of the Shackleton Expanse. It all started from what came out in 2018 through the not the free play, the Living Campaign, but this ship, which was a Intrepid class ship, was cast out of the Shackleton Expanse 13.7 million light years away to the Centaurus A galaxy where they had to survive. So that I just want to give people a basis of that. And if you ever want to see all the ins and outs, you can always type in USS Pioneer or Pioneer on continuing missions. And we made mini novellas out of all of our stories. So it's memorialized forever.
The internet is truly forever. So your hard work will be there for generations to come, whether you like it or not, because they can use the Wayback Machine. Even if you delete it, it's still out there. All right. So open question for the group. Take it in whatever turn you want to take it in. Looking back over your 5 seasons, your long-term story, your long-term campaign, what to you stands out as the defining moment for your starship and for your crew?
Go rank order, fellas.
Oh boy, that's a hard one. Honestly, I think the defining moment was just the way that the crew came together and went from being like coworkers to family. That gelling of personalities, personnel. It became more than a crew, and I think that defined the entire series, really.
Yeah, I think it was sometime during season 3 when we were wrapping up our the Shackleton book, when everything really came together and everyone was united, because we all came on board at different times, and getting a feel for all the characters and how they all interconnected. I think it took a while before that we really gelled, and I think that right towards the end of season 3, I don't want to give spoilers away, but we had some pretty big stuff going on, and I think we really came together as a team for that story.
Yeah, I was thinking about this question while everybody else was talking, and I think I'm going to have a hard time answering it. And the reason is that there's things that are very important in each episode that we had that I think really contributed to the overall feel. I'm not sure if I can point to a specific episode or a specific event, but it all tended to build up towards the end of the story. And afterwards, you felt, okay, this all added up to something amazing. I don't think there's a defining moment, but just the story overall seemed to all flow together right towards the end.
Now, I'll pick up on that and say I can't point to a specific moment that really defined it. I think something that defines the whole experience for me is actually on a meta level. The side chatter, the IRL conversation that we're having in parallel with the story, where just like as everybody rattled off at the beginning, everybody here on this server has some sort of project and ambition and is a writer, and Troy's got fiction and Michael's got fiction, and everybody has this passion for the whole space of RPGs and sci-fi. And I feel like the group really is a family. Like, I think I said to Michael at one point, because I came late to the server, I was like, wow, is this a men's circle or is this like an RPG group? And I really feel like everybody is rooting for each other. They're rooting for each other's careers. They're rooting for each other's personal lives and growth and families. and all that gets folded back into the story, which is crazy. So when Troy says, the crew is a family, it really is both on that, out of character and in character level.
Yeah, I'll go meta on that one too. It's the same thing. I felt it was like a writer's workshop many times, that we were all getting to kind of perfect our craft and talk about stuff. The dialogue was amazing. The dialogue was like you could hear the characters, which I thought was really good. So for me, it definitely improved my game mastering. And even me being a player at this point, that probably is the best thing I got out of it from a meta level. From a not meta level, boy, we had some fun conversations that one day I hope to be able to translate into other fiction because they were so real and raw, and such different perspectives that I could not have come up on my own.
Interesting, great. So follow-up question then, and I know some of you have already alluded to how hard this is going to be to pick, but if there were a couple of like really aha moments or like, oh my gosh, that's amazing moments from your time in the campaign, can you pick? I mean, in the interest of time, maybe just pick like one. Like even though you've got so many things going on in the campaign, is there one moment either for your character or for somebody else's character that made you go, oh wow, that is really amazing?
The finale for season 3, when we finally, beat that initial huge arc, and we all just went, did we just make it out of this alive? And to meet back together on the bridge and everybody looking at everybody else going, you're alive. You're alive. You made it. That was just, a goosebumps moment.
Yeah, I want to say like my character when I first designed him, I had some really neat ideas and wanted to flip a few tropes as far as being the overshadowed brother and those type of things. And I didn't have like a long-term plan for the character, but I can say that at the end, my character had gone in a completely different direction than I had ever anticipated, and that was all predicated on one specific scene where he basically got lost in time for 5 years, essentially. He for him 5 years had passed, and for the rest of the crew, it was just a few months. And so like there was a lot of growth that happened within the character. And so that opportunity where Michael and I got to sit down and role play one-on-one what was happening during those 5 years really changed the direction for Desmond Trask. And I think that it was executed really well once he came back.
He's a surprise return, crying moment.
I actually think that, at least for my character, that event actually is also one of the defining moments of him in the series, and it's because Nolan had always been getting along with the crew. He had been friendly, but he always felt that he was still separate in a way, because he was the ship's counselor at first, at least. So he was always trying to stay separate, but he had become kind of friends with Trask. And then Trask disappeared and was lost. And if you look back at all the people that were lost throughout Pioneer, like Nolan never really dealt with that well. When there was a crew member that he had gotten close to that was either just killed or lost, whatever, he felt very guilty, or like he should always be looking. And he did for Trask, and he never really felt that he was gone. And when he popped up again, it was like, awesome, I'm glad you're back, get to work, because now he has to hide the fact that he was really happy about that, because he has to be grumpy again and move on. But yeah, that really was something that was important.
Interesting. Josh?
For me, there was a pretty recent turning point that really kind of raised the stakes, and that was the Elevated Edict, campaign module that Michael wrote. It took place on a world where it's a classic next generation setup of having essentially a kind of duck blind and Michael really was raising some big philosophical, societal questions in this episode. And from the very beginning of the episode, I was sort of, I got this vibe because Michael set up this insane, horse. So the characters were going to go meet with these horse people, and they were going to wear these horse suits, and it was like a scene out of Top Secret, where he wears the cow costume, and I sort of got this vibe from that moment that I was like, okay, I think this is the episode where Starfleet really steps in it, because they're just clearly off on the wrong foot here, and I kind of leaned my character into that, and he was someone who not only wore the horse suit, but he also kind of made some missteps and really like put these value systems of these different societies into conflict. And then it felt really tense in the aftermath of that. And I think it was challenging. It was, talk about challenging your values. This was like this led to like a multi-episode soul searching, I think, for a lot of our characters. And I just think it was a crazy, really interesting ride, a very meaningful ride, and definitely a turning point for me.
Yeah, the one where I really saw your characters come alive was Christopher Bennett had written this one called The Whole of the Law, and I think it was in the Strange New Worlds, I think it was Strange New Worlds. And then there was also a follow-up episode we did written by Andrew Peregrine, Footfall, where it was very like spiritual. And I felt that's where I was starting to get to know all your characters a little bit better. You really leaned in heavily into those. And I love those kind of, both of those are really good modules because they force each person to kind of recognize their personal desires and their personal spirituality. And when I get meat like that, I feel like our game really woke up in that season. That was season 3 is where I kind of felt it came together, because then I was like, oh, I can really push them to explore some really cool subjects.
So it sounds a little bit like Next Generation finding its footing in season 3. You all really felt like it all
Definitely.
Very interesting parallel though. Nice. All right. So you mentioned that this whole campaign was done online on Discord, and I'm just curious, like what are some of your experience? Like, how did you manage? I mean, we all know as adults in this day and age, it's really hard to find time to game. It's hard to find time to get together, whether it's in person or virtual. So like, how did that, like, from a practical standpoint, how did you all stay engaged with the game for such a long period of time using online tools?
I think the writing format was crucial to that, because you could see the scenes as they were unfolding. You didn't have to go back and like watch a video or go, wait a minute, what did I miss? Or, that kind of thing. It was, read the scene. This is what's going on. This is what my character is doing at the current time. And then just, type and go, okay, that looks good. And pass it on to you. I got to go do whatever.
and say more. I mean, not just you, Troy, but anybody. Just say more. So like, this was a asynchronous kind of game, right? Where you would just post something and then somebody would come to it later. So like, how were you in the moment, knowing that you might have a 3, 4, or 5 hour delay before somebody could get around to showing up? Like, what did that feel like? How did that work out for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a challenge, right? At first, to get used to it. I think that one of the things that we were comfortable with doing was allowing other players to take control of our characters. If like we're going to be at a meeting and we know that there's a major scene going on, we would say, hey, everyone, I have to step out for 2 hours. Feel free to make my roles, because we had gotten to know everybody's characters so well that I think we trusted each other in taking that type of control. But I'll tell you, there was nothing like those days when all of us, like on a Saturday morning, were on at the same time, and we were just going back and forth for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and like that was when you really felt like you were connected to the game for sure.
We did establish early on some writing guidance. I just thought it would help with us to have some basic rules. Just to go through them real quick. One was do not write long paragraphs. So treat it like a real novel. Big blocks of text really do not serve well to keep people engaged. And then allow characters to answer questions or orders directed at them before changing the subject. So it took us sometimes to be patient because we had to keep it conversational. Longer paragraphs could be suitable if we were describing things like big, beautiful scenery or something like that. Short sentences are 95% of the time better than long sentences. And as a guidance, I said, watch the closed caption on TOS, TNG, Voyager. They don't have long sentences. They're very punchy and to the point, which made it really cool. Also, we agreed to write in past tense, so it would have that novel feel at the end of it. And we really kept the narrative flow. So it was really respecting where people are going and understanding that, yeah, we all want to take it in different directions, especially at a point of like a great cutscene or something. But we would sometimes go into our out of character and be like, okay, where are we going with this? And that inspired me to do something called scene direction. So I would create scene direction as a prompt before, like, this is basically where this scene is going. And then out of character, they would also decide, hey, I want it to go here. It's like, okay, let's take it there. And everyone was really respectful, I think, of these basic writing guidances.
Okay, so a follow-up question then related to that, just because I'm confident you've all had plenty of like in-person gaming experience with game groups and role playing, face to face over a table versus playing online. It sounds like the way this campaign, evolved and continued forward, it was really dependent on that kind of narrative typing, storytelling kind of thing. Like, how do you think the game would have been different if you were playing this face to face versus on a computer asynchronously, at your own speed?
I think that we would have been far less eloquent. Because I mean, hey, we're typing, we can think about how our characters are phrasing something or how they're acting, how they're looking, what they're thinking, and describing it with as much detail as we want.
I think I totally echo what Aaron said, and along those same lines, I feel like I wouldn't really have been able to use the same voice because for me to actually act out my characters, so one of whom is supposed to be James Franco, basically, and another one is this like cantankerous Cardassian. I just think I'm kind of glad that I never had to get on Zoom or show up in real life and actually be those characters because I'm such an introvert. I don't know that I could pull it off. And yet when I was writing them, I really felt like I could hear them in my head.
Yeah. And for me, I don't know if I could have been in the center chair, in person like that. I don't know if I could have been able to, you know, do the leadership things that Jalel needed to do on the fly like that. I don't know if I could have swung that.
Yeah, for me, the fascinating part was about being able to do this online, and Aaron touched upon it for just a moment, is getting to hear the character's thoughts on written out. And I think a lot of times when you are sitting around the table, you don't get to hear the inner dialogue that characters are having right before they just do something. Whereas, when we are handing this off to each other, like we're sitting around a campfire handing the story to the next person, it's important to know what's going through the characters' heads. And so, we could actually look there and say, Nalanid was thinking blah, 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 and then he did this. So I thought that like that just changed to me, like the way that a game can be is by understanding what's going through the characters' minds as they're doing stuff.
And this crew is great at not doing meta either. Like I would sometimes write in scenes because I just thought it was appropriate to show what the bad guys are doing, just because I just thought it added to the epicness of it. And I can't think of one time when they meta in all this time. It was really cool.
Recommendation I can give to GMs, touching on, what Al said, ask, if you've got characters that are really starting to develop and you've got a scene, compelling scene, ask, what is your character thinking? What's going through their head right now? What not what are they saying? What is their face showing? What are they thinking? And that can really, I think, draw out some good RP.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, I'm guessing you guys didn't use video, right? This was all just pretty much text, play by post. So, like in a face to face game or in a game where you've got video, sometimes you can see facial cues and nonverbal cues that you can add to the role playing. So, are there any elements of a face to face? I guess I can call it face to face because whether you're on video or you're in person together, are there any elements of like that kind of a gaming experience that you missed not having in this campaign? I just think of like the communal breaking of bread, having snacks together, chit chatting before the session, and then coming out of the session, or catching those nonverbal cues. Are there other elements of a in person style game that you didn't have in Pioneer that you might have added to the experience?
I'll say, yeah, I think maybe my inner introvert is saying I love Discord play the most, just because it's so gratifying at the end of an episode to have it all polished up and good to go. But again, I do have an in-person group. And to your point, Jim, we eat, we laugh, we're a little goofier, and that's fun. That's just fun camaraderie too. But when I'm really getting to serious play, make mine Discord.
Yeah, I don't think I really missed anything from in-person play. And the reason is, again, what Joshua said, what everyone said, is that we acted like a family. We were a family out of character. We share all these things with each other. We would share pictures of vacations. We would share pictures of what we were doing that day out of character. Like, just here's our interests. This is what we're passionate about. And that would be an all the time thing. Even if we were actually having a role playing session in the main episode, that was still happening, but we were still goofing off or just enjoying life together in the out of character or whatever channel we were using. So did I miss anything? To me, not really. I got everything out of Pioneer that I normally would get from an in-person group.
And we're still doing it. It's funny, even though the game's
Yeah.
over, we still talk in channel. So like we're text all the time and share our lives still. So that's nice. And we'll come back to it someday, I'm sure.
Yeah, so much so that I think that like if we were to all get together in a room together, anytime here in the near future, I think it'd be hard to actually play a game with you all. I would just want to catch up on like how's life, you know what I mean? Like that's the part that I kind of really gravitate towards, is like, when Michael's, posting one of his vacations, or when Aaron's posting himself in uniform doing a reenactment, or Troy's at the air zoo for the day. Like all of that stuff is like, that was the stuff that I look forward to. And, I would love to, if we all got together in a room, just chat about that.
Oh, I'm bringing my core rulebook, bruh. You better bring your dice if we're getting in a room together.
Well, I think that lends itself to the next natural question then. And Michael, you even alluded to this just a little bit in passing, I think. So Pioneer, like I haven't read the final episode, right? So I don't know what's coming. I'm still way behind. But depending on how it ended, right? If there is a natural way to continue the story, would you want to continue it? And where do you think it would go? What would you like to see happen next with this group?
We're now ready to go into our cinematic era. So with 65 episodes under our belt, we've talked about it a little bit, and we really left it off interesting. For instance, I will give this spoiler, is that two of the characters here actually founded the Department of Temporal Investigations. They didn't want to, but they find out they're the ones who actually started this mess. So that left us plenty of movies to follow up on that. And of course, now we have that wonderful DTI pack from Merrick Moyer, which has our brains going over here.
Yeah, I think like what we've been seeing from a lot of the newer Trek shows that have been wrapping up, they've been leaving a lot of potential like shooting off points to go into other directions. And I think we kind of did the same thing, right? We've got the DTI aspect, we've got a diplomatic aspect, we've got the new captain on the Pioneer A, spoilers. But like each one of those could be its own set of stories spinning off, which is awesome.
And we need to see if Nalinda gets to use his can of gasoline or not.
That's our Tellarite, Chief Science Officer, now the captain of the USS Premonition.
So were there any characters who could potentially go off and really change their state of being and then come into it like a pioneer movie completely different? And I'm thinking of like Spock. Is there a Spock character who could have gone off and done Colinar and come back like a completely different character and then maybe find their way, back or something?
I think Jalil, and you'll be the best one to answer that. Or has called him Jalil Troy. I think you're the best one to answer that.
The first one actually that popped into mind is Chad. That last little epilogue pretty much just turned everything right on its ear. We all went,
yeah.
Wait, what?
Well, again, you're saying the people listening don't know. Our doctor, who was not able to be here today, at the very end, he just decides to write this little epilogue that he's from the mirror universe.
Yep.
that was in the kid.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah,
maybe
for
a character secret he's been holding on for a very long time, I guess. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like with Jalel, he's stepped away from, he's diplomat now. He's passed the center chair to somebody else, and I think he would very much approach things, significantly different than he did before.
Yeah, to leave Starfleet. Well, you're an ambassador to them, but you're still not strictly Starfleet. He's a Romulan, for everyone listening in, was the first Romulan captain. And it was not easy with all the biases of the Federation to be a Romulan captain. And I leaned into that very heavily.
I think a change that would be fun for my one surviving character, that's Madrek, the Cardassian, grumpy, middle-aged chief engineer. He had this value for all of the campaign. I don't think I ever challenged it, called Married to My Job. I think it's time for him to get literally married. And I want to see the version of him that has a home and a wife and sort of roots and, is just kind of really enmeshed in that and not just kind of this guy who's working all the time and sort of be dragged back into to duty. I think that'd be interesting.
All right, interesting stuff. So I think I'm going to pivot and talk about some sausage making and some writing type of questions, just because you're all writers of one degree or another. So having gone through this, 5-season long exercise of heavy duty writing, right? I mean, it's a lot of fiction writing, a lot of creative writing, a lot of storytelling. How did your experiences, playing through Pioneer, shape your understanding of storytelling, collaborative storytelling, even improv, although it's a different kind of improv than face to face in the moment, like we were talking about. I think Troy and Josh, you both talked about how much harder it is to come up with really eloquent stuff on the fly, as opposed to when you have a little bit of time to sit back and think about it and then write it out, without typos and stuff. So how is your experience doing this game in this particular format shaped your storytelling and your style?
For me, I one of the things that comes to my mind the minute you ask that question is the power of the cutscene. I've played RPG a lot, and when you're sitting around the table, you don't really have cutscenes the same way you do in a written game. And when you have really good players and it's like everyone knows, oh, that's the cutscene right there. That's the page turner. And when you're able to cut that scene, then you have to make that decision as a writer. What's happening off screen that I'm not going to write about, but I'm going to come back later in another scene and will catch people up. That rhythm is really nice. And when I'm doing writing for my own novel now, I could hear it in my head. Oh, that's a cutscene. I didn't feel like I had to wrap up everything with a bow intentionally. I could just say, whoa, that was the most powerful thing that just happened. That was a cutting remark, or that was a new reveal or a twist. And I'm like, stop there. Let me walk away from the page for a little bit. In my mind, decide what happened in between. Where should we pick this up again? Where would it be the next coolest place so that the reader is thinking, wait, what happened? Give me the resolve. And you slow resolve that out. So I think for me, that was a cool rhythm that I learned playing with these fellas.
And I think for me, it was, watching Michael with his world building, the arcs over, months, years, and seeing big picture mechanics going on for a storyline. And I can honestly say, building, the good, the bad, and the savage, redemption in particular, you know, I've got a 5 year story arc in mind for that entire setting. And I never would have done that before this. I wouldn't have been able to wrap my head around.
I think for me, there was a couple of things. The first is the power of the B plot. In that's B plots are really hard to do when you're playing in person, right? Because you have to like split the table apart and maybe take some people into another room, and like other people get bored while you're for this we could have an A plot and a B plot going along side by side, right? That may not be connected in any way, shape, or form. So that was really, really cool to learn. And my other thing that I learned was I'm one of those people when they write, I like to have an outline so that I can hit every single beat that I want to hit along the way. And I learned through playing with this group that isn't always the best thing to do, right? Sometimes it's more about, thinking about the character and how they would react in a situation as opposed to how you want them to react, like how you had planned for, like the direction you planned for them to go. And I think I learned through playing with this cast here, like how to be flexible in my thinking with my characters, and to not lock them down into like a definite path. Let the events define them, and that was a really important thing to pull away.
I think that the one thing that changed in my writing style was not feeling like I needed to force every idea that I had for a specific scene into the scene. Because I just the way I think, I want to say a lot of things. I want to explain a lot of things. I want to detail a lot of things. But being in our game, I figured out, wait a second, I really don't need to do that. And then I figured out the power of the aside, the log, something that I can go, hey, look, here's a flash sideways, and I can put a whole bunch of stuff that I had rattling around in my head into this to maybe help explain my character's actions or my character's thought process, something like that. Because yeah, otherwise, as Michael will say, at the beginning when I first started, I really pressed those writing rules pretty hard with like brief sentences and short statements, because I apologize, I did not do that very
Aaron,
well.
I think in the end you wrote as much in your logs as we wrote in the episodes. I said he should make an addendum to everything and just do all of Nalanid's log. He's a teller, chief scientist. Like, do all your logs for me. Put them all in another book. I'll put them up on continuing missions because they were hilarious reads if you stop to read them.
Yeah, because it wasn't just logs; it was like episode promos,
Pencils,
or like
CD, DVD bonus material.
Yeah, DVD bonus material where it would just be like him talking to the camera as though like the parent, UPN was there filming him doing like the power of knowledge kind of thing, and him going, why are we doing this? What's wrong with you? Do you need mental health help?
Aaron is a consummate writer, and I can say I've never met someone. I think I'm a writer because every day I do a little here, do a little there. Aaron is a writer. He writes to write. I've never met anybody like this before. And by now he should have 300 novels up on a shelf somewhere. I don't know why this is not the case there.
Josh, Alan, any other thoughts related?
Yeah, I mean, what changed, what this game changed for me about writing is just feeling like a writer at all. And I just want to pick up on what Michael just said. I mean, it really is improv, this format. It's improv writing. It's so prompted because you always have to respond to what just came before. You always have to respond to, what the overall, direction of the scene is. And I think, there's this whole activity, I think it's in November, National Novel Writing Month. And it's this idea that anybody, so many of us feel like we have a novel in us, but then the National Novel Writing Month gets you to sort of like just buckle down and do it, and get it out of you. And it's still a sprint. It's really intense. Well, this is more like a snack, and you're just always prompted. Michael even started, like he said, giving us these scene directions. So it got to the point where Michael could just say, your character is upset, and this has just happened, and they want this. He could actually tell me even what's my motivation, like actors say, and I'd be like, okay, let's figure this out. Like, what is the my character version of those instructions? And I found it so helpful. Like at this point, I feel like I have written a novel, even though it was just all in these little snack tasks. So I really, anybody who wants to write a novel, doesn't have National Novel Writing Month to donate to that task, try play by post, because it'll really carry you to novel length and beyond in no time.
Josh became an incredible character writer. I will
Oh,
give
thank
him
you,
that
Troy.
much right now. That there were 2 times in that entire series that I had to get up from my computer and walk away because I was bawling my eyes out, and he did one of them.
Thanks. That means a lot, Troy.
We should give you behind the curtain now, Troy. Myself and Josh planned that scene like a year in advance. A year in advance. We said Josh was the only one that I had let into the build of it, basically. Like, do you want to go there? And if you do want to go there with your characters, we're going to have to build this up so it's believable. And I'm going to really need to save up my threat to make this happen. And I saved up 48 threat for that scene.
So going there meaning death, basically.
Yeah. And so I had permission from him. We wanted to make it epic because this is the only character, actually. The character is the only one who was original bridge crew. So he had been on since our very first game, this character. And so it had to be something that, in my opinion, would shock the audience. And so we designed for a year. He was the only one who knew where we were going, to the mirror universe, all these little things, because we had to set it all up. So thank you, Josh, for that, because I actually could not have built that final story without you.
No, that was an incredible experience. I mean, in all my years playing RPGs, I'd never actually had a player character die. And so, the fact, I think, Aaron, you were saying in the play-by-post format, you have a little bit of space to think about how you want to write. And it's true that while we did have this aim that, that he would basically sacrifice himself, the actual particulars, I mean, for a year, I had no idea what situation is he going to be at the helm of some shuttle. Is it like, what is the situation, what's the setup? And then when it finally came into shape, it was giving me these Balrog vibes. Like I was like, wow, this is just like that scene where Obi-Wan fights Darth Vader in the Death Star, which is basically the Balrog scene. And that really, I really wanted to have a meaningful connection, between my character and the captain, who was his mentor. And I realized that, my character is a wisecracker. He cracks pop culture jokes all the time. So with his dying breath, I thought, oh my God, he could actually make reference to Lord of the Rings. And that actually would be a meaningful message from him to the captain, who, in classic Trek style, is fond of, Earth culture and loves Lord of the Rings. But that it was also a message essentially from me to Troy, and, because we both love that. And I knew that it would connect on that meta level as well. So Troy, I'm sorry to, to have triggered something there, but I'm not sorry, because it felt like a really meaningful send off.
My favorite point, because everyone who knows me here, especially Jim, knows I'm impulsive and I hate suspense. So sitting on it for a year was a big deal. So it made me so happy the day, Joshua, I could private DM you. And all I did was send him a gif of Doctor Strange holding up that finger to Iron Man, the one, like, now's the time. And that was a signal that this is the scene. And then Josh fell forward into it. It was so cool.
Wow, that's powerful. I mean, that's just the power. I don't know if it's Star Trek in particular, but the ability for a player to plan their character's death well in advance is something I've never seen in another RPG ever. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's just my limited experience, in the groups that I've had and the games that I've played, but it's always only been Star Trek where players have been able to do something like that. And I don't know if it's the franchise, or the system. I don't know what it is. It's just that that mix of possibility, right? I guess.
I think it's because in Star Trek, life has meaning, so death has meaning.
And I think we even got a sidebar about that into the new book, right? I think there's a sidebar in there. I read something about character death.
About character death, yeah.
Yep.
You know who wrote it too, Al? If it wasn't you, right? I think it was you.
It was me. I wrote it. Yes, you are correct.
Shameless plug.
You know, the fun thing about the system is, you know, he had this massive threat. And as we went into that scene, I think you even DM'd me, Michael, and you're like, okay, you could write this now. And I was like, no, let's play it. And I sort of made this mini game for myself of like, how much of that threat could I take out? Could I really like make this a sacrifice? So we actually had a few rounds of combat, and I was trying to create advantages and remove your advantages and really just see how much I could absorb, you know, with that death. And it was really cool to play that out through the mechanics.
Well, I feel like we need to go into the weeds a little bit here. I mean, just from a game master standpoint and a player standpoint, like, I mean, we've seen the stories on the Modifius Discord and on social media and stuff about how certain game masters just collect threat and have like 20, 40, 60 points of threat just sitting around. Like, walk us through it. Like, so, you know, Michael, you said you had to save up 48 points of threat intentionally to get to this moment. So, like, in the game, how did you spend? It was like one big 48 threat, or was it incremental? Like, you know, talk a little bit about the mechanics of it here.
Yeah, so I really had I mean, I read through all the books and all the rules because I knew I had to be mechanics heavy on this one because I didn't want to look like a cheat. I didn't want to look like, oh, I have to wrap this up and it has to go in this direction. So I remember saying, I think I'm going to have to bring them in media res. Definitely, I was starting with 3 threat per player at the beginning of this mission, and we had a soft tease about they were basically using a projector, almost like a spatial projector that was going to send them very far. They were testing it out on behalf of the Confederation. That's the people they ally with in this other galaxy. And I said, I'm going to have them go in, transport, and boom, it puts them in the mirror universe of the Centaurus A galaxy. And they came in the middle of a supernova happening. So it was action right from the first scene. I was able to have spatial anomalies that were major. Nothing was going to be easy. We're like talking about diff 3, diff 4 right off the bat. So they were going to have to be giving me threat to get out of this supernova that was exploding in this star system. Plus, add some dragons, space dragons, which were in our game called Cause Dragons. And they had to dodge them. So I said, if I come in media res, I can start collecting that threat right off the bat. And sure enough, things are blowing up. Boom, boom, boom. So by the time we got through to the end of Act 1, I was able to use 8 of those threat for a reversal. And that reversal was, your ship just got captured. And you are now imprisoned, and you're being all marched off the ship into this major, giant, moon-sized castle ship. So I had thought about how all the rules would work. Then I realized that once they got in there, these are really good players. I'm going to have to really, again, open up those scenes where they're captured. So I'm using that reversal because they have to be captured. They're going to have to work out of that and hopefully give me a little bit more threat because I'm building up for Josh's moment. And then I told myself that once that happens, I'm not building up threat anymore. Now that's the worst thing that could have happened. That's definitely the end of Act 2. So why am I going to do anything worse once a character dies? Now they just have to solve all the problems that they have to work out. And then I just went into normal threat spin mode at that point. But I did really plot out those mechanics because I knew that one scene had to happen.
And I think we used ample use of opportunity cost as well, right? To like have us finding weapons and things like that by giving you threat as well. So I think that helped build it up as well.
Oh, that's great. I love it. I love hearing the behind the scenes stuff and the way it all kind of came together. So I've got one last question for you all, and then we can move into like wrapping it up and talking about your experiences. Obviously, you know, you all have moved on with your experience and gone to writing games and writing fiction and writing other projects, et cetera, et cetera. So how did your time, you know, in the Pioneer campaign impact your writing so that like as you're working on your next project or your new, you know, your game, your fiction, your short story, like whatever you're doing, because I know you're all creative and you're all doing stuff. Like, do you ever stop to think, oh, I'm doing this because I learned this in Pioneer, or how would I handle this if I was in the Pioneer crew? Like how has everything you've done over the last 5 seasons in Pioneer, how has that shaped or influenced what projects you're working on now?
I'm happy to say two things. One, the first thing I think of is if you want to be a writer, support other writers. That's the biggest thing I learned out of this is have people around you who are writing, who can trust you to look over their work. They can look over your work. I look at what everyone's doing here. It just boggles my mind. And Jim, you started it. You opened up the door for us. You supported us. And I'm so happy to see that even coming out of this, Josh is a published writer. From playing our game, he becomes a published writer from this. Our other player, can't name him because he actually works for Paramount now. So I'm very careful with the NDA. So he's gone on and he's influencing writers from a different aspect now. So that's the one thing I learned is play. If you want to write, play with writers. That's going to help you a lot. Uplift them, invest in them. The other point, now I got so excited with that, I forgot my last point, so I'll let someone else take it.
So I was chatting with some RPG designers recently at a convention, and one of them was very, very passionate about the fact that one person should write an entire supplement for a book, for a game line by themselves, and through working with everybody here on Pioneer, like I could not have done something like this without everyone else. Like we build each other up, we help each other out, we bounce ideas off of each other, and I think the same is true with the Star Trek Adventures line in general, right? All the writers are very supportive of each other, and either sending emails back and forth or texts back and forth, and so like in my games that I've been working on recently, like Sentience and Redacted and whatnot, I have other people that I'm working with because I think that makes me better. And I love getting different perspectives and points of views on things. And I would argue with the person who says that one person writing a book is better than a whole group of people writing, because I believe that together we produce the best product possible.
I agree with Al because just in the two things that we've worked together on, well, three things, four things, okay, whatever. All the things that we've worked on together, that what I write is going to be better because Al is helping, or Troy is helping, or Michael, or Josh, Jim, you're giving me feedback. All of it is going to be uplifted because we're all working together as a team. And that's exactly what the Pioneer game was. And that's what I'm going to take away.
I would echo what everybody says. I'd go meta again. What I really saw on this server is, basically everybody both playing their heart out in the game and also, pushing their craft and really hustling out there in the world to create. And everybody here, everybody on the Zoom right now has really I've been watching all you guys just build and launch these incredible things. Sentience and Ashland and the good, the bad, and the savage and Saucer Squadron and all these things, and there's many, many more, and all of Michael's things. I mean, I couldn't even list them all. It's so inspiring to see that behind the scenes. And somehow it's all connected with the love of the game and the writing here in Pioneer for me. So if I'd love to go on. I had a blast working on Captain's Log. It was an incredibly meaningful experience for me. I'd love to go on and find other ways to contribute to the field of RPGs. And if I did, it would only be because I really see the work and how you can just create things and you can make things happen and put products out there that really connect with people who are going to appreciate them.
Yeah.
Wow, this is great. Love it.
I found that out with, I just recently expanded into the American Southwest. It's an area that I'm not terribly familiar with, but I have a very good friend that lives in Arizona, he and his family, and he and his family are literally naming, places in this town, people in this town. They're giving me the histories. I mean, he's a truck driver out there, so he's literally taking photos of where this town is set. So it's you find your collaborators wherever you can, and it's something that I learned, very much in Pioneer.
And like again, my final thing, I finally remember what it is. I am a strict adherent to session 0 continues now. Session 0, if I'm going to remember anything for an RPG game that will apply to every single RPG game I play for the rest of my life, session 0 is always on. Check in a lot, check in often, make sure everyone's getting their needs met. And I think since we did that, that also made it the most epic game I've ever been a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I mean that felt like a really good almost closure, but let's just go around real quick. Any last thoughts on Pioneer, your achievements, and what's the lingering thought that you want to hold on to as you come out of it and close it up and move on to the next thing?
Rank order. Let's do it. Honoring the captain.
I think the thing that sums it up for me was, I had given the order to, do something that I hated doing. And then, Al gave the line, Captain, Pioneer is all around you. And if anything summed up that entire series, it was that statement.
Yeah, he basically gave the command to detonate the Pioneer self-destruct so that we could escape our prison, and he was in a really bad mindset. But you saw all of the characters, making their way to this fleet of cause dragons to fly away, and the Pioneer was still fighting strong that day, even though the physical ship was gone, and that gave us the power to move through to Act 3 and finish the thing off, which is awesome. My one bit that I would say is like I said, I was saying to you, Michael, I just listened to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 episode of Continuing Conversations. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it because it is spectacular. I didn't realize I had done some of this with my character already, but I had planted the seeds of my younger brother, my character's younger brother, just being this rock star, super brilliant person, way overshadowed my character, and my character was dealing with that a lot through the earlier seasons. But I didn't realize that eventually, like in season 3, I would have the opportunity to actually role play as my brother. Like I had disappeared, and as far as everyone knew, they thought I was dead, and so I got to come on board with as that brother that I had developed through side stories and whatnot and flashbacks. So that was a really fascinating thing to get to do. So it can be really rewarding if you can flush out some of those ideas of characters that your character is connected to.
To add into that, I think one of the most fun things I was able to do was to flesh out Milanid's family and constantly post stories about it, even though they might never be on screen ever. There's only one family member that ever appeared on screen, and that was his wife. But like the whole extended family, there's all those stories, and it sort of helped generate what the character was, why he was the way he was. That was a lot of fun. And sometimes, who knows, in the future, if we ever come back to Pioneer, maybe one will pop up. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the grandmother because she's psychotic, and that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's about it.
For my part, I would just say, guys, that was really good. Like, that was a really good TV show. That was a really good Trek show. Honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to toot our horns here, but I really have had Pioneer kind of eclipse some of the other beloved Trek installments. I mean, there's so much Trek to love out there, but honestly, what we created was really unforgettable. And I feel I don't know how many people in this universe will read it. The internet is forever, but I really feel like that story was on par with the best of Trek.
Nice. Thank you for that. All of you for doing that too. You all participated. Top 3 for me. When you all actually got to meet Kirk McCoy and Spock, that was amazing. Playing Bacchus' irresistible call from the Living campaign. That I knew. I didn't know. I hate it being corny, doing time travel shenanigans. I hate corny. It didn't feel forced, and you guys did such a good job. And you were in Romulan bodies. They've been transported to Romulan bodies too, so they had to deal with these characters and not break the temporal the prime directive. So top moment. The other one, I have to say, the favorite character NPC I created was Dr. Solomon Madrek, Cardassian scientist. I'm in love with her. Like, I'm really in love with this character. And if I have any power in the universe as a writer to get her into actually Star Trek fiction, I am going to use every iota of my energy to do it. I dreamed years ago that I would write 7 of 9. It's happened. So if I can make this dream come alive. The third achievement that we all did, which is hard to do, and I didn't think it was going to be possible, we actually created a character out of the ship. Pioneer became a character. We had wrote about it in Utopia Planitia, but we had a personality infused, arguments, like a child being raised. So the fact that we actually created a character that died, there were 2 characters that died. Ensign James died. I mean, now Lieutenant James died, but also the ship died, and that breaks my heart because there's so many good memories in that ship. So the fact that we worked together to actually create the ship into a character, that's Star Trek.
That's awesome. I love it. I just love hearing it, vibing off all of you. All right, well, let's move on to gratitude then, and we'll start with Michael as the game master, and then also, and then we'll go in rank order, and then I'll wrap it up.
Thanking all of these fine folks here. That's all I got to thank today, including Michael Freeman, who's another one of our players. We also had the McCoys who played with us, Lauren and Roger for a bit. They came in on stints. Alonzo Muncie is another one who came in and played with us for a little bit. We had a lot of players who came in and out over the years, but this was the crew that cemented together. So thank you all for creating my best RPG experience ever.
Nice. Troy.
And for me, it's, the same thing, for all of you, behind the scenes, Pioneer ended the day before I lost my mother. And, to have this crew there meant the world.
Big hearts.
And rank order, who's next after Al?
Rank order, because I went from lieutenant to commander to captain in a matter of just a few seasons due to my time away from the ship. So I appreciate that journey, and everyone just so being willing to listen to different ideas and different ridiculous things that we can do with the ship. Aaron and I would often find ridiculous things to do to get out of situations. We called it Starfleet Jackass, and it was always a ton of fun. And then Michael would be like, all right, let's roll with it and see what happens. The dice will tell us if it works. So it was just so much fun. And I think every one of you have made me a better role player and a better person. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, Starfleet Jackass, the subspace anchor, so we could corner the ship on a 90-degree turn without dumping momentum. Yeah, that we broke things. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to be unique here. I'm going to say thank you to everybody here. I'm grateful to have been a part of this. I got to share the weirdness that was rattling around in my head a lot, over and over and over again, and that means something to me. So thank you.
Yeah, likewise. What else is there to say? I mean, thanks to all you guys. Thanks for being such a warm and supportive group, in addition to just inspiring and stimulating. And I mean, that includes you, Jim, because I know that I feel like you're an honorary pioneer. You got the hat and everything, but I know that you really celebrate people's games, and I feel like it adds this sense that you're really taking part in a phenomenon, when you do something like this and put in the time. So thanks for that too.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. No, I am grateful to all of you for sharing all your stories, either just in this episode, but also just offline. I know Michael's talked a lot about Pioneer, and Aaron and Al, you guys have all talked about it. And there was one brief moment where I got to peek into it because I think there was a moment where I had a brief window of opportunity to join a game. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't have time. All of a sudden, it just shut down. So, but I had a little taste of it, and you all got me the hat, so I'm really grateful for that. And I am continually humbled that the game that we've created over the last 9 years has had some small part in this amazing experience that you've all had together. And gosh, you can't put a value on. I mean, you can't put a price on that, because this is priceless, right? The fact that you've spent 5 long seasons together, however many years that is in real time, and that you've come out of it not just with a great game experience, but like great friendships that have that will endure even beyond whatever is to come next. So I am grateful to have been a very small piece of that in some fashion, and again, grateful that you've all shared your stories. So thank you all. It's just amazing to hear it.
All right. The conversation continues, and the gaming and the writing and everything else. So until next time, everyone, IDIC.
Live long and prosper, everybody. Be safe, be well. We'll talk to you all next time.